Hello, Nicole. All right, thank you so much for kicking things off here. Still a work in progress. Have so far many tweaking. Let's go ahead and take a look, shall we? I've got you up right here, so I just want to fit in a window, and we'll reduce the size just a little bit so that we can see each spread. All right. So front and back cover. I think it's a smart. I mean, it's a smart choice. I definitely think it is. That iconic patchwork is indicative of some of the more famous work, specifically in handbags. So that I think that's a good choice. Um, Everything's handled very nicely here, very nicely. I think you're just gorgeous right here, really nice. Okay, first spread. Now listen, here's the problem, and this is a problem that I'm going to say, and I anticipate this problem, and I'm probably going to end up mentioning this to several students. What we want to avoid in this piece is placing elements. Okay, for the most part, this is a great way for you to learn. It's an introduction to multi-page layout. It's an introduction to the considerations and some of the problematic areas associated with multi-page layout, via the design and creation of a 12-page brochure with a fold in the middle, right? So far, so good. Now, being that this is, being that this is a type and layout class, I think this is just a wonderful opportunity to practice type and layout. And I think for that reason, it's a really good idea to stick to this. I'm in the week 6 project 3, part 1 planning and sketches stages. And I think it's a really good idea to stick to this format right here. It's not required, and I know that you've included a timeline, which I think is kind of cool, but for the most part, stick with this, and this will avoid the possibility of taking entire pages and placing graphics. That's not helping anything here. It's not helping your typography. It's not helping your layout skills. It's basically merely placing images, and we want to avoid that. Now, in the real world, sure, absolutely, it could come into play. That's something that's going to be required and requested of a client or an art director, certainly. But for this assignment, I think it's more important to practice our skills than it is to work on just basic placement. Okay, that said, there's another page that's just nothing but placement. So this page is great, doing a great job of typography here. Timeline's a great idea. This page is pretty darn good. So let's just think about the pages. Now, this is the front and back cover, right? This is spread page 2 and 3. This should be a designed page right here. They both should. And then, of course, the back cover, page 11 out of 12, will also be a design page. So there's no blank pages, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and let me just jump into my reactions here. Okay, as I said, cover looks great. Just as a placement, there's not a whole lot to comment on here. By the way, that's a low res rendering. You can see. Let me see. This is I can zoom in here and we can see the pixelization. See. So that's a low res depiction. So you don't want to use that anyway. But again, I wanted to reinforce that caveat of trying to avoid just placing things on pages. All right, I'm going to talk about this page in a second because this is kind of where the rubber meets the road in terms of typography. And then we'll go through the rest of the page. Now, first thing I want to do is establish the center line. Okay, so here's the center line. Now watch what happens. There's the center line. Okay, there's the center line. Then all of a sudden, actually, no, that's okay. Yeah, that's okay. This is probably a little bit close to the center line, that rule right there. I think you're really, really close for comfort here, because if anything goes wrong at all, that quite could possibly be seen on a page that you don't want it to be seen on. So whatever's going to spread with this page in the printer spread, right? So depending on how to fold, that could show up in a place where you don't want it. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and jump to the first page with typography. So I think a really neat thing to do here would be to start this this article with a deck head. And that, you could even span both columns with a deck head. That's basically just a large, like it would be the first few, like an introductory paragraph, but it would be set in larger type. It's called a deckhead, and if you want to research deckhead, go right ahead and do so. But I think that would be a really interesting intro. Then from your deckhead, you come down with your drop cap to start the story. Okay. I'm a little bit. Let me see something here. Yeah, watch your grids. Watch this. So as you can see, you're not lining up. Your baseline grids aren't lining up. And again, just research baseline grid because we can see here most of your are lining up. That first column right there, something's going on. Right, that second column of type on the second page, something's going on there. As we can see, it's just not quite in alignment there. That five should technically, that bottom of that five should technically be a descender since it's old style numerals. So take a look into that. Okay, typographically, we've got a few issues, and let me zoom in so we can take a closer look. Okay, let's do this. Okay, great job, old style figures. Good job, good job. Justified type, last line, flush left. Go ahead and take a look at the announcement for justified type settings. We've got a few areas that are problematic, a couple of rivers, as it were. Here's one right here. Okay, here's one right here. A couple of, a river is this kind of unusual spacing that kind of causes by the formatting of space that would be left over on the rag at the end of the paragraph, the line, but is redistributed by the use of justified type. So we can see some issues right here. See these large spaces right here? And then we jump over to this line and you see how tightly packed those are. Now, again, if you go into the course announcements, take a look, what the heck, let's just go over there right now. Okay, when this opens, you're gonna see a tutorial in here on how to set up justified paragraphs. Where the heck is it? How to justify paragraphs correctly. So definitely want to take a look at that tutorial there and apply those recommendations to your work here. Okay. Old style figures, great job. I don't really see any area. I may be missing something, but I don't see any area applicable for all small caps. So I think you're pretty good in that. But remember, if you have any type that's presented in all caps, make sure to convert that to small caps. Okay. Okay. Good. M dash. Good M dash. Nice. Very good. Okay. There's a double quote there. Right there, double quote. Want to adjust that out. Okay. Typographic widow. You don't want that. What you could do well, actually, if you want to just research justified type and removing typographic widows. Yeah, we don't want typographic widows in justified type in any type at all. We don't want any widows at all. So there's a widow. Here's a widow, and there's a couple more. I'll point those out. But at any rate, so let's go ahead. Okay, technically that should be hanging punctuation right out there, which means the M should align with the left margin, and the quote should fall out of the margin. Okay, quick review. Just go ahead and do a web search on hanging punctuation in InDesign. Simple, really simple to do. The right margin would matter too in justified type. If you have a quote or anything like that, technically that comma right there should be hung. So, and that's one of the things you have to look at in justified type is to hang on both columns. In flush left, rag right, you don't have to worry about the right column because it's a staggered column, so you don't have to worry about preserving the margin by hanging quote punctuation. So, okay. Boy, I'm seeing a little bit of inconsistency, it seems, in the space after the subhead and where the column starts. That is going to point to a paragraph style right there. So make sure that you're set up paragraph styles. on this, because right now that looks a little bit, yeah, it's definitely, this is not, yeah, you definitely want to set up paragraph styles for that. Okay, let's move to the timeline. So the timeline, it's a good idea and everything, but boy, it is so conservative. Oh, wait, let's go back. I got a few things to say on this page. So one of the recommendations here is to kind of take a look at the way we navigate the page. So think about how a viewer is going to hold this. Typically, we'll hold the booklet like this, and I'll just grab my dummy that I use. We'll hold the booklet like this with two hands, right? Which means a lot of times you'll want to include a wider margin. Outside margin, so that you can accommodate for where the thumb rests on the page without obscuring any type. So think about that. Also, I think your gutter is really, really tight here. When you fold this, your type is going to fall. Like, there's your center fold, right? This type is going to fall right in that gutter. So you want to be really careful. So I would say increase your, this may entail some reconfiguration here, but I would recommend a wider margins, thumb margins as it were, and then a wider gutter in the center of the page. Timeline, super, super, super conservative. This is your chance to go off, man. Have some fun with this project. And as long as you're a student, you might as well just really flex your creativity. You'll have time to be conservative pretty much your whole design career, as a lot of clients will recommend and require conservative design. But now's the time to really flex your creative muscles here. Okay, and then placed image, and this page looks good. Now, one tip here is these should all theoretically really be the same size, exact same size. So what you could do is crop these accordingly, and then the ones that aren't, like this one, if you would enlarge it, then crop it, just so they all take up the same spot. Now, something like this that doesn't have a background, what you could do is just place a hairline stroke, the same size as the other squares around this. Okay, and the same thing here, just a hairline stroke, and then those will all line up beautifully. Okay, all right, so those are my recommendations. Sorry, I'm 12 minutes. I didn't want to do that, but I want to be as thorough as I can. So that's a really great place to start. So I'll tell you what, at this point, just let me know if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, and I'll be sure to clarify anything in that regard. Okay, great start. Thank you so much for sharing.